Now, something really cool about the lighting system and the fact that you can actually use, well, put in sprites and actually edit the tiles is that we can also use Unity's extensive and really amazing particle system. And in this video today, we're going to show you how to actually use it, how to manipulate it, what are the most important things about the particle system. You can create effects such as these fireworks right here. So, first things first, let's hop into Unity and create our particle system. Now, just right click, go to Effects and Particle System. So, this is default particle system, always shooting that way with all the base settings. Now, when I deselect it, it just freezes. When I select it, it plays. See it playing more, just click the play button and it will play automatically if you have multiple particle system working together. Now, the most important settings of a particle system come from extensive list in the inspector. So let's start by calling this our firework. This will be the main firework particle system. Now, let's start with the basics. The most important thing right here is to know whether a particle system is looping or not. Basically saying that when it's done, should it start again or should it stop? Imagine the looping being for like the splash at the end of the firework. We want the splash to happen once the firework actually hits its apex, its maximum position. So yeah, in this case we're going to keep it looping and we're going to have it running for every 5 seconds. It would loop once. We could make it 3 if we want to. Then we're going to have the start lifetime. This is basically how long the particle has to live. Every particle will spawn, and then in this case after 5 seconds it will disappear. So we can do something like 2 seconds. Now when we hit play, see the particle will disappear a bit earlier. If we go to 1, it disappear even earlier. If we go to 5, they take longer to disappear. The speed also, we can have a starting speed of 10, which will make the fireworks fly way faster. Or a starting speed of 1, which will make them really clump up and take more time to actually get to a position. And yeah, you can also control the start size, make them bigger, make them smaller. Really, you can control a lot of aspects of the particle system, and going into tutorials with that would be really amazing for you as to really understand the extent of how you can actually control particles. You can change the color right now. Let's keep it to white for now. And yeah, you can really look into all the fields that are there and actually customize your own particle system that you can implement in Graal 2D. Now, the thing that we're going to really focus on for today's tutorial, especially with the fireworks, is the emission types. So, a particle system has an emission property. This emission property is basically separated into 2 different things. First is the rate over time. So right now it's every 10 particle over time. So if I up that to 100, you see that the particle density just rises very fast. Now if we put that to 0, we can actually, now we can keep it somewhere else, but we can actually use bursts. These are shots of particles, in this case 30. We can enhance to like 100 or keep it at 1. That really actually come every, for example, other cycle, if we put it 2. Or every cycle. Or infinite, which is whenever. Now, for our case right now, we're going to keep it at 1 because this is our main particle. So let's make it a bit faster. So let's go at 10 and let's make it die sooner. So they die at 1. Perfect. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to check the shape. Now, a particle system basically spawns inside that shape and moves according to it. So here it's in a cone. It will only spawn inside this cone and move accordingly. Now if we go for a donut, it can shoot or up or down. But yeah, I would highly recommend just checking this out and actually playing with it to see how everything works. You can change the angle, for example, at 40 degrees, make it wider random spread, make it narrower at 10 degrees. We're going to keep it to 25 for now, just for the sake of explaining it. And you can really play around with every single one of these parameters. I would highly recommend it. It would be really educational for you, and yeah. So this is basically our firework, and it's rather simple to understand, but there's not really that flare of that rising motion with this trail that we have, and this explosion that's at the end. And this is where something really important comes in: sub-emitters. Now, to create sub-emitters, we need to actually create another particle system. So first, let's add a new particle system. Let's create that to be, well, the trail. So for the sake of the example, let's make the trail red. And now for a trail, let's first rotate so it goes downwards. Let's make it a bit more condensed. To do that, let's give it a smaller lifetime. Make it go way faster. And actually change the emission rate to something way higher. Let's give it a 40 value. Now, something really cool is we're going to work with the shape. We're going to keep the cone, and we're going to go with a very narrow angle. For example, an angle of 5 degrees. Then a smaller radius of 0.5. And this seems nice enough. Now, we're going to actually link the firework with this new trail that we created in the sub-emitters. And we're going to reparent it. So now, as you can see, it does work. But it seemed very off-putting. Like some delays happening. It's not really smooth, let's say. And this is because of a lot of factors. First of all, the trail and the fireworks share the same lifetime. So when a particle spawns, it will take some time to be destroyed. So to compensate that, the trail will have to have a lower lifetime. Let's give it 0.2 seconds. In that case, let's give a bit more of them to make it a bit more dense, and give it a higher speed so it seems a bit longer. Now, if we look at it really well, you can see that they're too big. To be able to compensate, particle systems have a lot of variables that can change over lifetime by the speed of it and all. So let's change the size over the lifetime. Let's make it start at the maximum size and then end at 0. So now, as you can see, we actually have a trail going. It's a bit weird, it can still be edited. Let's maybe add some more fireworks. Let's give it 100. Let's make him live a little longer. So 0.9 or 0.5. And now, this basically makes it a bit more logical on how the firework should work, and it makes it as an actual trail that's going, with some residue at the end, falling after the firework. But now we want the actual main event, the blast. So we're going to create another new particle system that's called boom. And for this one, we're going to actually start with the emission. Now also, we don't want something constant, we want a burst. So we're going to add a burst with a lot of particles, say 100. Let's change the color to something more yellowish. Perfect. And now we're going to change the shape. That seems something more circular, like a blast. So let's go with a donut, which is perfect. But now the particles are way too spread out. So we're going to use the same technique we used with the actual trail and actually change the size over the lifetime. Make it go down. Now we have it, but it's still very, well, slow. So something we can do is actually lower the lifetime and make it go like slightly faster. Now we're satisfied with our interaction, we can just go back to the firework, add a new sub-emitter, and add this boom particle effect. Now we don't want it when it spawns, we actually want it at its death when the particle is over. And now as we can see, if we hit play, we do have fireworks that shooting off in the distance. Now, for simplicity's sake, we're just going to take this firework and place it right here next to our torch. Now, something to notice. You remember in the actual fireplace, we had this sprite renderer and we had to change the order in layer so it actually becomes visible in the tile system. So to do that, firework has to have the same effects done to it. So first of all, we're going to change the layer to tiles so that it's been displayed in the tile system that works with the lighting of GraalScript 2, and change in children also. But also, we're going to have to go to the renderer of every single particle system, go to the order in the layer, and let's also put it to 10. Let's change it in every single one. Now you do see that also it happens to have that every particle system has a renderer, which means you don't have to have this little circly blurry thing that we're changing colors on only, but you can also actually create your own sprites for the actual particle system and make it display on explosion. For example, creating a more simple snowing animation that would just go over on top of the screen with particle effects. It's very possible it's something just a continuous particle that just drop down and just get smaller with size. Something else to make fun with the explosion effect is to actually have various size. So right here, the start size can actually be random between two numbers. So it can either be a small value at 0.5 or a big value at 2. So now our explosion is more randomized. We want to make it something different, we can duplicate it. Add a second boom as a new sub-emitter to the firework on death. Now we can just change its color to a green. And yeah, now we have a mix of colors, a different effect. We can make it something a bit more different. For example, change the shape to a cone and make it wider. A little hat that explodes with the actual firework. And really, you can control emitters, you can do whatever you want with this particle system to create really cool effects that would enhance this GraalScript 2 2D experience and make it more entertaining and interesting. And yeah, by building the bundle and actually importing it to the game, we can actually see our fireworks, our custom particle system that can actually work and create these various effects. Now, as you can see right here, with the power of particle systems, we're able to create, for example, like a fiery effect coming from below, as if there's like a lot of fire running under the actual scene. And you can imagine having, rather than those little particles with cars, you can imagine layering on top like smoke clouds, or maybe just removing this fiery effect and just having snow falling. You see like the way these actual particles are swaying left or right. I would highly recommend as like training to actually try to create something like that by yourself, trying to see online how to actually edit particle systems, but really that is the way to actually import them to the game. Now, another way to do so is to actually use cameras. Remember the example with the cube, where it's spawning cube, you can spawn the actual particle system that works in 3D if it's more of a 3D view that you want to achieve, and actually use that to, well, create this particle from GraalScript 2 and actually use it there too. Now this is the most optimal method, but the other one works as well. And yeah, these are basically Unity's particle system. Actually going in depth into one single video would be not giving it a lot of justice because the system is really in depth, and I would highly recommend just looking it up, looking more into it. Take this video as more of a guide on how to actually import into GraalScript 2. And if it seems a bit hard, daunting, or some stuff that are not really understood well, I would highly recommend just hopping on Discord, asking for questions, and we'd be more than happy to actually help you out and answer these questions.